Good morning, job seekers. It's James here from the Candidate Coach. Thanks for joining me this morning. It is Tuesday, the 17th of August. Great to be broadcasting via our Candidate Coach platform to you today, where we're going to talk about how you can give great answers to interview questions. Now, if you've been to any of our workshops so far this month, you'll know that we started off with resumes and cover letters. We talked about LinkedIn profile. And then last week on Thursday, we talked about how you can prepare to do really well in an interview. But today we're going to take that a step further, and we're going to talk about probably the one aspect that is very, very challenging, and that is how you can actually give really good answers to interview questions. So you might be the most experienced candidate in the field. You might have the best experience. You might have the best qualifications. You might be miles out in front of everyone. But if you give really poor answers at interview, then the chances are you're probably not going to get the job. On the flip side, if you've prepared really well for interview, you've learned some good techniques around how you can give great answers, and you deliver great answers in the interview room, guess what? You can suddenly get to the front of the pack. So today I'm going to talk to you specifically about how you can create really good answers to interview questions so that when you're in the room and you're being asked about the job, you can perform really, really well. Because by the time you've got to interview, you've normally put in a lot of effort. You've been spending time writing your cover letter. You've been spending time on your resume. You've had a phone interview. You've finally been invited in. You've done so much hard work to get to this point. So we want to make sure that we're performing really, really well. Okay, we are coming to you today via our YouTube channel. We're broadcasting across our partner sites. Hello to those of you who are watching us on our Facebook channel as well. Okay, so just a couple of housekeeping things before we kick things off for today. I run 2 workshops every week. So I'm running another one on Thursday. I'll talk about that later on today. But if I do drop off, if I fall off the line for any reason, if my internet cuts out, just stay where you are now and I will jump back on. Ask lots of questions today. You can ask them via the chat box sitting on the website where you're watching this as well. And also take lots of notes, because one of the things that's important when you learn something is that to remember how it impacted you the first time you heard it. You'll be able to watch a replay of today's workshop on our YouTube channel, so it automatically uploads and it'll be ready to go probably 5 minutes after today's finished. So you can come back and watch any of the lesson from this morning. All right, a little bit about me. So why am I here today trying to coach you and give you some advice? What's my background at the Candidate Coach? Well, I've been a director at Smart Recruitment since 2005. And over that time, I've conducted well over 3,000 interviews and well over 600 group assessments and placed over 1,000 people into work. So my coaching and my guidance to you today is coming to you from that standpoint. That being said, there's no black and white when it comes to recruitment. So some of the advice and guidance that I give around resumes and cover letters and interview technique, you might hear something different from somebody else. That's not to say that I'm right and they're wrong, or I'm wrong and they're right. You need to go about listening to people that you trust when you are going to try and land a new job. So in particular, the roles that we recruit at Smart Recruitment, we do focus on those soft skills and we focus on interview behavior. So interview behavior is the key, and I've watched many candidates get a job just because they prepared so well for interview. And we launched the Candidate Coach in December 2019. Okay, so I've actually got a question for you, and I want you to type your answer into the chat box, into the comments box here. What do you actually think the most common question, interview question in the world is? Do you have any idea what the most common interview question is? Is it, what are your strengths? Is it, tell me a bit about your weaknesses? Is it, why do you want to work for us? They're all really good questions, but none of those questions are the most common interview question. Somebody has already nailed it in the first comment in the chat box. Tell me about yourself. Okay, some other good suggestions coming through. Why did you apply for this role? That's a great question. Why would you like to work for us? That's a great question. But the most common interview question in the world is tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, whenever I'm interviewing for a role, whenever it's a phone interview, if I'm on the phone and I'm speaking to a candidate, I start off every conversation with tell me a little bit about yourself. Likewise, on a face-to-face interview, when I sit down with a candidate, tell me a little bit about yourself. It sounds like a really friendly, soft, ice-breaking type question, and it is. It's a little bit of an icebreaker, but don't get caught out here and not take this question seriously, because this is your first opportunity. This is your first opportunity to put a really strong footstep forward and to create a great first impression, particularly over the phone, because as a recruiter, this is the first opportunity I've had to hear from you. I might have looked at your resume. I might have read your cover letter. We might have said a quick hello on the phone. I've said who I am, why I'm calling. And I say, just to start things off with, candidate, please just tell me a little bit about yourself. So if you can have a great answer to this question, then you are giving yourself a wonderful opportunity to get off to a great start and to really impress me straight away. So how do we create a great answer to tell me a little bit about yourself? All right, grab a pen. I don't actually want you to answer the following. I want you to write down the following. Write this down. Write down 1, name; 2, overview of your work history; 3, your top 3 skills; and 4, the type of work you are looking for. I'm going to get you to go through and answer these questions, because what we're creating here, some of you would have heard of before. What we are going to create here is an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch. After today, I'd encourage you to go and Google how to create a great elevator pitch, even though I'm going to show you how. So what is an elevator pitch? An elevator pitch is a brief but persuasive statement. Brief, persuasive statement or speech. It is going to be so useful for you to have a brief, persuasive speech or a brief, persuasive introduction when you are looking for work. So why is it called an elevator pitch? Well, let's imagine you've got an interview in the city tomorrow. Let's say it's in Sydney. Well, we can't use Sydney or Melbourne as an example. We're all in lockdown, but let's pretend we were. We're going into the city tomorrow. We've got an interview. Woohoo! We're feeling good. Our interview is at 300 Collins Street, and it's on the 50th floor. 50th floor. We've got to go all the way up the elevator. So we arrive on the ground level. We go over. We ding, press the button. We walk in the elevator. We press floor 50. And then just as the doors are closing, in walks behind us the person who we're actually meeting. So we're going to go up the lift with them. We're going to go up 50 floors in the elevator. And as we're going up in the elevator, that person says, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. So you've got that time in the elevator. You've got that sort of 30 to 60, maybe maximum 90 seconds to introduce yourself. So that's where it gets the name an elevator pitch. So having a great elevator pitch is so handy in recruitment when you're looking for work, because it is a great way for you to answer that question, tell me a bit about yourself. So it's the most common interview question in the world, and the answer to this should be your elevator pitch. Okay, so how do we actually write it? So again, we need to answer these questions: our name, an overview of our work history, our top 3 skills, and the type of work you're looking for. Now, an elevator pitch can move around a little bit. For example, at the moment, if you're looking for administration work and also hospitality work, you might have an elevator pitch that's a little bit tailored to each one. So if your top 3 skills for administration, you're not going to mention them if you're looking for a hospitality job. And likewise, if you're interviewing for a hospitality role, you want to list hospitality skills, not the administration skills. Okay, so here's one that I've prepared earlier. Don't be intimidated by this. I'm a recruiter with 15 years experience. I've worked on my elevator pitch a lot, but this would be my elevator pitch. Hi, my name is James Whitcomb. For 15 years, I've worked in recruitment, beginning as a recruitment consultant before progressing onto management and then being a director, my current position. My top skills would involve interviewing candidates in a way that uncovers their true motivation, public speaking and presenting, as well as coaching and training candidates to ensure they are giving themselves the best chance of landing a new job. The type, I'm currently looking for a new role where I can focus more of my time on training, coaching, and assisting candidates as opposed to being a recruiter. Okay, so that's obviously one that I've prepared earlier. Again, don't be intimidated by that. I've practiced it, I've rewritten it, I've refined it a lot of times. But that's exactly what I want you to do. That is exactly what I want you to do. You can answer those 4 questions there. Name, overview of your work history, your top 3 skills, the type of work you are looking for. So that is exactly what I want you to do. I want you to go away after our workshop today, and I want you to write down your answer to those questions. Question 1 should be pretty straightforward. I hope so. Point 2, 3, and 4, this is where you really need to focus your time. So as you can see, I've written quite a lot, but it's quite succinct. So I didn't write this the first time and absolutely nail it. So go away and write your elevator pitch, then come back and rewrite it a couple of times. I want you to spend quite a bit of time writing your elevator pitch. Rewrite it until you've got it to the point where it is perfect. That might take 1 day, 1 hour. That might take you a week. But get it to the point where you're like, this is a perfect copy of my elevator pitch. What I then want you to do is to save it. I want you to print out a copy of your elevator pitch. I want you to have a copy stuck on your fridge. Every time you walk past, you see it. I want you to have a copy on the kitchen bench. I want you to have a copy in your handbag. I want you to have a copy saved on your phone. Save it as your wallpaper on your phone while you're looking for work. A couple of reasons I want you to do that. First of all, I want you to become familiar with your elevator pitch. Secondly, is because if you answer the phone and someone's called you about a job and they say, just to start off with, tell me a bit about yourself, your brain's going to go, oh, that's my elevator pitch. I've worked on this. And then your brain's probably going to go, I've forgotten my elevator pitch. What is it? But if you just have to look at the fridge, or you look down at the bench, or you've got it in your handbag, or you can see it on your phone there, I would much rather you read out your elevator pitch that's well written, that's perfect, than to forget it. So create it, get it perfect, print it out, and then finally use it. Use it. You obviously can't pull it out and read off it when you're having a face-to-face interview, but hopefully by then, you are understanding what the key points are. So your elevator pitch is absolutely crucial because it is the first chance that you've got to answer a question. And a lot of people, again, don't realize that the tell me a bit about yourself to start things off, you are on show. You are on show from that very first moment. All right. So how to stand out at interview. How do we actually stand out when we're being interviewed? If you were in my session last week, there is only one rule: preparation. Do the preparation. So if you do the preparation for the elevator pitch and prepare what I'm going to show you now, you are going to really help yourself stand out at interview. Because a candidate who answers questions confidently at interview gives the interviewer a great sense that they are a top performer. So if I'm interviewing you and you're unsure with your answers, you're not giving me great detail, you're not really looking at me in the eye, you don't sort of seem very confident. I can see on your resume here that you've done this work before, but I'm not getting great answers from you. It's not giving me the confidence that you can do the job well. Whereas if you're sitting up straight, you've got great body language, you're looking me in the eye, and you're giving me confident answers, I am going to get a sense that you're going to be a really good performer. Because when we get to the interview stage, it's not just about finding someone who can do the job. We are looking for somebody who can do the job very well. And you need to make the interviewer feel that you can do the job very well. All right, so we have 2 main types of interview questions, and we're going to go through how to structure answers for both of them this morning. The first type is behavioral questions. They're probably the hardest one. So we're going to spend probably 3/4 of our time on behavioral questions today, and then we're going to spend 1/4 of our time on technical questions. Now, a lot of people don't like practicing interview questions. I get it. It's boring. A lot of the time you don't know where to start, and you also don't know even if you're practicing in the right way and if the answers that you're giving are also going to be good. So today I'm going to help you create great answers. So actually, what are behavioral questions? Well, behavioral interview questions focus on how you've handled situations. So we're going to ask you about a situation in the workplace, and we are hoping that you reveal your character, traits, abilities, and skills. So the key word there is situation. So how do you answer some of these situational questions? Well, let's have an example of what some of them are. So first of all, these are very straightforward. Tell me about a time you gave great customer service. We ask that in most of our customer service roles, or if it's a sales role, tell me about a time you made a great sale. First of all, it's a very basic question. And if you are going for a customer service role, you really should have a very strong answer to this question because that's what your job's been. Or tell me about a time you disagreed with your manager. Ooh, that one's actually quite tricky. Do I have to talk about conflict? Yes, you've been asked the question. You need to have a good answer. So maybe think to yourself right now, ooh, if I was asked those questions, am I confident I'm going to give a really good answer? Because the answer should be yes. You should be able to give good answers to these questions. If you're not, don't worry though, because I'm going to show you how to. Okay, so how do we actually give good answers to behavioral questions? Well, we use a technique called the STAR technique. The STAR technique. Write this down. I'm going to be sharing some slides or some information with you from the article that you can now see listed from the Indeed website around how to use the STAR technique to create great answers to behavioral-based questions. So what is the STAR technique? Well, the STAR technique is a method. It's a method of answering questions, and it's got 4 things on it. STAR. That's why it's called STAR. So first of all, and we do these in order with the STAR technique, a situation. So we want to describe the situation and when it took place. So if we're going back to tell me about a time you created great customer service, we describe that situation and when it took place. We use specific detail to describe that situation. The tasks. Okay, so we explained the task and what was the goal. The action. What did you actually provide the details about the steps you took. What did you actually do? What was your role in it? And then what was the result? And the result is really important here. The result is important because we want to show the outcome. All right, let's break down each of those. So the situation. Set the scene. Set the scene. So think of answering behavioral questions and using the STAR technique as you are telling a story. You are telling a story. Set the scene by giving context and the background to the situation. If you've been asked about teamwork, and teamwork is a very common one, your response should include the project details, who you were collaborating with, when you undertook the project, and your location at that time. So one of the biggest mistakes a lot of candidates make is they don't provide enough details. So be specific. If it was, again, coming back to the customer service question, talk about when it was. It was the week before Christmas, for example, something along those lines. Be quite specific. Talk about where maybe it was a retail role. You were in the store at the Chadstone flagship store, or maybe it was in a contact center at our head office in Richmond. Provide some really good details there. Talk about who else was involved. Really provide some context as if you are telling a really good story. So describe the situation. T is for task. So your exact role, what was your responsibility in the situation? So if it was a customer service one, and I've asked you to provide me with an example of a time you provided great customer service, what was your responsibility? What did you actually do? So make sure the hiring manager knows what you specifically were assigned to do rather than what everyone did. So to create a great example here, you want to show kind of what you did above and beyond your role. What initiative did you take here? And that flows into A, which is for action. So this step is probably the most important, as it says there. Now we've had the situation, the task, action. What did you actually do? What did you actually do here? And I'm going to provide you with an example of this in a moment. But here we explain how we handled the situation or conquered the problem. And we don't always have to have a successful outcome here, but we talk about what we did. So we say whether you did it alone or in a team, whether you're trying to communicate, what you're trying to communicate is you assessed the situation and you responded as well as how you got the team involved. And again, details. Share as many details as possible so the interviewer can follow you. And to do so, you avoid acronym and company-specific jargon. So one of the main reasons we get feedback from companies who are interviewing our candidates as to why people weren't successful at interview was, oh, look, their answers were a bit vague. They didn't provide great detail. Well, they provided me with an answer, but I really don't know what role they played. They said the team had a great outcome on this project. There was 15 people on the team and it was the best project the company's delivered, but they didn't actually tell me what they did. I actually don't know what role they played. One of the things a lot of candidates avoid doing at interview is going into detail. You feel nervous. You feel like you need to give the best answer as quick as possible. No, you don't need to rush, particularly when you're being asked behavioral questions. You can take the time. In fact, you need to take the time to give really good depth and really good details, particularly to behavioral-based questions. So details, people's names, projects' names, locations, budgets, specific tasks. If at all you're wondering whether your answer is too long, you can stop and look up at the interview and say, am I going into too much detail here? You can actually ask, am I going into too much detail here? And they might say, yeah, look, thanks. You probably are. Maybe just touch on the key points. Or they might say, no, this is great. Tell me more about it. So you can always ask how you're going. And then finally, R is for results. So we want to end the story by sort of talking about the positive outcomes of our actions. So what did our actions actually show? What did we learn? Quantify the result if possible and show the effects of your actions. So what happened because of your particular actions? Examples may include a 10% increase in sales, getting repeat business, or saving your team 5 hours of work in a week. So let's put again some details here. And again, the outcome might not have been great, because one of the questions might be taught, what we ask sometimes is, tell me about a time you worked in a team which had a bad outcome. We want to see depth and we want to see detail in your answers. So that's the STAR technique: situation, task, action, response. Google it, Google this article and read it. So how to actually do it. So here's an actual example. So here's a question. And I think it's a nursing example. So somebody who's going for a role as a nurse. Describe a time when you handled a difficult situation at work. How did you react? So I'm not going to show you that answer just yet because I want you to have a think. I want you to have a think on the other end of the camera now. Think about that question. Describe a time when you handled a difficult situation at work. Some people are like, I struggle to think of a difficult situation. I love my last job. I was there for 4 years. But you need to think of something. You need to come up with something. I'm sure it wasn't rosy 100% of the time. And this is why you need to go away and practice what some of your answers are going to be here, because there are some common behavioral questions that you can have examples ready for. So how did you handle a difficult situation at work? How did you react? So how can we answer this question using the STAR technique? So situation, what was the situation? So what was the actual difficult situation? What was the task? What were we going to have to do? Actions, what did you actually do? And results, what was the result? All right, so let me share with you a great answer to this question. All right, in my last job as a night nurse, one of my colleagues quit after securing, I'll read this out twice, after securing a job with a top private hospital. Though I was managing a ward full of patients, I was assigned this one patient who didn't want to be admitted. He wanted to bolt out of his room. I made myself available to the patient, discussed with him the reason he was being admitted, and assured him he would receive 24/7 attention and good care. The patient finally calmed down and agreed to spend the next 3 days under observation. He was discharged on the 3rd day, and his wife personally thanked me for handling someone she knew to be extremely stubborn and difficult. My wife might say the same about me. Now, that's a great answer. Again, don't be intimidated by this answer because this is a professionally written answer by an experienced writer. You might think, oh, there's no way I could give an answer that well. But you might be able to practice it and get your answer very, very strong. So let's identify the star part. So I've underlined the first part in the red there. That's S for situation. So the situation was in the job, one of her colleagues quit after securing a job with a top private hospital. So that situation. All right, what was the task? The task was she was assigned to this one patient who didn't want to be admitted. That was the task. We've got a patient who does not want to be admitted. The next thing is A for action. So what action did this person take? They made themselves available to the patient, discussed with him the reason he was being admitted, and assured him he would receive 24/7 attention and good care. So we've got the situation in red, the task in blue, the action in green. And then what was the result? He was discharged on the third day, and the wife personally thanked me for handling someone she knew to be extremely stubborn and difficult. So situation, task, action, result. It's a very short answer, to be honest. It's quite a specific answer. It's obviously well tailored and written for a specific purpose. But again, have a think. You can go to the Candidate Coaching site and you can download common behavioral interview questions and then just apply that STAR technique. So I would encourage you to have some examples ready for things like, customer service. It's an easy one. If you're going for a customer service job, at times you gave great customer service. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult customer. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult manager. If you can practice and prepare your answers in advance, you might not get the exact specific question at interview, but you can draw on something you've practiced. And the more times you've practiced an answer, particularly when we're trying to remember details, if I ask you that question on the spot, you can probably give me an okay answer, but you're not going to give me a lot of details. If you've practiced that answer 5 times, you've probably started to remember more details from that situation over time, and you can give me a much better answer. All right, so that's it for behavioral questions for now. Go away, practice, use the STAR technique, Google STAR technique, jump on the Candidate Coaching platform, download our behavioral interview questions, practice, practice, practice. Because practice you can do, and when you're practicing, you're increasing your chances of getting the job. And you don't need to be the most qualified or experienced candidate a lot of the time. You need to be the best prepared. And if you are the best prepared, you may very well just get the job through the level of preparation. All right, the second type of question. So we've done behavioral. Let's have a look at technical interview questions. So what's a technical interview question? Well, a technical interview question is a question based on the actual technical skill required to do the job. So if it's an IT job, it's going to be specific IT skills about Java programming or JavaScript. I don't know IT, so I don't know. If it's an accounting role, it might be about specific accounting. If it's engineering, it might be about your particular skills as an engineer. If it's customer service, again, it might still be technical because they might ask questions around what CRM systems have you used. So these are role-specific questions. These are technical questions. So let's talk about how you give great answers to these technical questions. So as I said, technical questions focus on the skill, the qualification and experience required to do the job. So we're not necessarily looking at the behaviors and the attitudes as we are with behavioral questions. We want technical skills, qualifications and experience. So a couple of examples. Tell me about the accounting software packages you are most familiar with. Obviously, that would be for an accounting role. Which sales methodology do you find is most effective? Again, that would be specific to a sales role here. So we're asking the candidate here about their technical ability to do the job well. So how do we give great answers to technical interview questions? This sounds really funny and really silly, but we actually need to focus on actually answering the question. Answering the question. Again, common feedback we receive from hiring managers is, oh, look, they presented well. They've got a great resume. They've got great experience, but they just didn't answer the questions. I'd ask them something about A. They'd start a little bit talking about A, but then they drift off and talk about B, C, and D. And it was really hard to actually get them to answer the question. So if we go back to that first example there, if you're going for an accounting role and the question is, tell me about the accounting software packages that you've used. make sure you answer that question. Talk about, I've used MYOB. These are the situations that I've used it in. I've used Xero. These are the situations that I've used it in. Don't drift off and start talking about other areas of your accounting experience. Make sure the interviewer knows what accounting software packages you have used clearly and loudly, because you focus on answering that question. All right, number 2, provide details. So again, if somebody has asked you what accounting software packages have you used, don't just say, I've used MYOB and Xero. Go into details. Talk about the latest version of MYOB that you've used. Talk about the latest version of Xero that you've used. Talk about the training that you've had to use these packages. Talk about the clients that you've used it on. Still focus on answering the question. But we need to provide details. So how is the best way to provide details? Well, we can use the STAR technique. I'm proficient in using MYOB version 2.9 for accounting software. I've used it in these situations. I've used it to do these tasks. I find that it best works for this, and these are the results I get. So we can apply the STAR technique to provide great details, or just simply the who, what, where, when, and why. Who have you used it with? Where? What was the outcome? Why have you used it? But provide details here. Give some examples. Use one of these 2 techniques. I can't highlight this enough. So I want you to actually go even further into details, or ask if it's okay. Ask if it's okay. I very rarely, if ever, have a client say they provided too much detail in their answers. I don't think that's ever occurred in 15 years of recruitment, but I've regularly heard we didn't get enough detail. So you need to probably provide more detail than you actually think. And again, if you think you're going too far, just say to the interviewer, do you want this level of detail? Am I going too far here? So I've had a question come through on the chat box. Can you say that you don't have any technical experience but have an understanding? You can say that. You certainly can say that, but it's not going to be a very strong answer. So if you don't have any technical experience but you do have an understanding, I want you to show how you have an understanding. So if you have an understanding through doing online tutorials, I want you to say, I've got an understanding through doing online tutorials. These are the tutorials. These are what I learned. If you don't have any technical experience, but you've watched 50 hours of YouTube videos, I would like you to say that. You need to go into detail, even if you don't have the experience, the technical experience, to show what you've done to try to attain the technical experience. And point 4, try to relate the answer to the job or company you are interviewing with. So if you're going for a customer service role, and it's for a bank, for example, try to answer your question specific to that. Particularly if you've worked in customer service in a bank before, you can really hone your answers in to give really good examples that you know are going to be relevant. The more relevant you can make your answer to the job you're going for, the better your performance at interview is. And the interviewer is thinking, hey, they showed me how they dealt with the same situation, or they have the same skill that we require for our customer base, and they've shown they've got some understanding of it. So if you can bring your answer, really hone it in to be relevant to the job, the company that you're meeting with, then you're going to give a very strong answer to interview questions. So how do we actually stand out at interview? Preparation is the key. If you can go away and you can prepare what I've asked you to today, you are going to improve your chances. I know a lot of people think, I don't want to do preparation, but what I want you to do is I want you to embrace preparation. Preparation is actually your friend, because preparation you can do. Every job seeker starts off at the same point at the beginning of the process because they haven't done much preparation. So if throughout the process you can be the best prepared candidate, it will count for more than you realize. Particularly when you get into the interview stage. And when we get to the interview stage, we're often picking between 5 candidates who can probably all do the job. So the small things that you do to stand out at interview and to give great answers aren't that small at all. They're actually the really big things. So go away and do the preparation. All right, if you're still wanting some more assistance, can I direct you to the candidate coaching website. So we've got 2 fantastic episodes here that you can go and watch. Episode 8 is getting the basics right at interview, and episode 9 is taking your interview performance from good to great. On these videos, you're going to hear from 6 or 7 different recruiters, including myself, but another 5 or 6, and we're going to tell you how you can perform really, really well at interview. The videos only go for 5 or 6 minutes. You can watch them as many times as you like, but these videos, if you've got an interview coming up, I really encourage you, watch these videos. You will get something out of it. You will learn how to best prepare and stand out at interview. So our next workshop is on Thursday this week. So as you can see here, these are all the workshops we're running in August, every Tuesday and Thursday. Today we've done how to give great interview answers. On Thursday, back here, where you're watching it now at 10 a.m., come along because we're going to talk about job hunting tips in a competitive market. Now, you might have heard that unemployment is low at the moment, and it is. But whenever you are looking for work, it is always competitive. It is competitive regardless of high or low unemployment. So come along on Thursday, and I'm going to show you some little things you can do to stand out in a really competitive market when you're going for work. Then on Tuesday next week, we're going to look specifically at how to land a graduate job. And then Thursday next week, we're running our masterclass, and that's our longest session where we kind of touch on all the topics you can see there: resumes, cover letters, interview performance, LinkedIn profiles, video interviews, the works, Thursday next week. So wherever you're watching this today, whether you're on one of our partner platforms or in our Facebook channel, come back here at 10 o'clock on Thursday. But before you go, just a reminder of all the resources that are available to you on your candidate coaching platform. As I said, we've got lots of videos you can watch. We've got resume and cover letter templates. We've got interview questions, practice online tests. You can take an online assessment and get your results straight away to see how well you performed. We've got downloadable checklists, articles, specific advice for executive job seekers, mental health support material, more information about our upcoming workshops, and all of this is for free. Before you go, 1 or 2 things I would love for you to do for me. The first thing is to just quickly complete a 2-minute survey. If you can complete this 2-minute survey, it really helps me to get some feedback in terms of what you thought of today's session and what you would like to know for future sessions. So I'm just going to drop this link into the chat now. You should be able to see that. Please click on that link. Tell me what you thought of today. Tell me what you'd like to see next time. Also, follow our LinkedIn channel. We put lots of different content on there pretty much daily, lots of tips and tricks. Sorry, not our channel, our LinkedIn page. I'll drop that into the comments box as well. If you've got any questions, please type them into the chat box now. This is the time to ask any questions that you might have. It might be about interview performance, or it might be about something else. I'm happy to take any questions. I'll wait on the line for a moment, and then we'll finish off with a video. I've got a video that we like to conclude each workshop with. So if you've got a question, please jump on now and type it in. So I'll just pause for a moment. All right, I can see that a question has come through from Eric. Thanks for the question there, Eric. And he has asked, do you have online interview practice by face-to-face? I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there, Eric. I would always say definitely practice any interview because whether it's face-to-face or it's video, you need to practice. You really need to practice. It's really important that you maybe stand in front of the mirror and practice the way you answer interview questions. But if you're asking, is that a service that we offer at the Candidate Coach? No. So I'm not sure if you answered your question there, Eric. Maybe ask it a slightly different way. Someone else has just popped through. What to wear? Great question. What do I wear for interview? What I'd really encourage you to do is look into the organization. If you're going for a very corporate role at a law firm, I would expect you to wear, for a gentleman, a full suit and tie. ladies to wear the equivalent. If you were going for a marketing consultant role at an advertising agency, you wouldn't wear a full suit because you'd probably look out of place. The best thing to do if you're not sure about what to wear to interview is simply ask. When you've been booked in for an interview, just ask them, what do I wear for an interview? If you are unsure, dress on the side of more professional, because you are better to turn up being slightly too professional than turn up and be unprofessional. Alrighty, well, thank you everybody for today. I'm just going to conclude with this video, and I hope to see you all back here at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Enjoy the
If you're not feeling terrific at the moment and you feel like your mental well-being has taken a little bit of a dip, please remember this is not going to last forever. There's lots you can do to manage your mental health and get back on top of it. I am Dr. Sarah Barker. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've worked in workplace mental health with Black Dog Institute for the past 7 years. A lot of adults and young people, mainly with anxiety, depression, trauma as well, a range of issues, and many who are looking for work and undergoing that process of trying to find employment. Looking for work causes mental strain because our identity is tied up with our work. Work gives us meaning, it gives us purpose, it gives us company and connection. So it's stressful for lots of reasons looking for work, and it can take a toll on our mental health. It's really important for us to be aware of the signs that our well-being and our mental health might be dropping. Probably the biggest sign is changes in behaviour. So that might be changes in the way we're thinking or talking to ourselves. We might be saying things like, who would employ me? I'll never get a job. We might be really down on ourselves and really hard and critical on ourselves when normally we're not so hard and critical. We might also, in our relationships, change our behaviour. We might be more snappy or more irritable with people that we love, that normally we might be a little bit irritable sometimes, but not irritable in that way. Losing interest in things that usually sparked us and ignited us and gave us joy. So perhaps usually we like walking the dog and suddenly we start thinking, I can't be bothered walking the dog today. That sort of thing, those changes in behaviour are really significant because they tell us that something's different, and if we're noticing, I suppose, more than one of those and it's affecting the way we feel, and this is over a period of say 2 weeks or longer, then it's a really good idea to have a chat to a GP that you trust, and find out what might be going on, have a discussion and see if there's any physical reasons for that, or if perhaps your mental health and well-being might be able to do with a little bit of extra support, and then the GP can refer you on to see a psychologist, a counsellor, whoever is most appropriate for you. There are so many great things you can do to look after your mental health when you're looking for work, and it's really important that you do. My very top tip would be really talking kindly to yourself and being compassionate with yourself. I think when we're looking for work, we can have a lot more questions like, will I ever get a job? Will I ever be employed? It can feel like this could go on forever. So being kind to ourselves and saying things like, it will work out. There will be a day, my efforts will be rewarded. It will just take time. I just need to keep trying. Reminding yourself of your strengths. And that might even be tapping into people you love and asking them what your strengths are, because sometimes it's harder to find them when our mood's a bit low and we're feeling more worried. We can be harder on ourselves. I think that routine is really, really important to our well-being. When we're looking for work, we mightn't have such a regular routine because there mightn't be a 9 to 5 start and finish time for a job, or there isn't. So instead, thinking about looking for work as a job in itself can be helpful. Having a start time and a finish time can be really helpful, and some set tasks that you hope to achieve that day. Purpose is really important too. So purpose might come through routine, but it can also come through other things. Meaning's really important, and our work gives us meaning. So when we're looking for work, meaning mightn't feel like it's there as much. Part of what we can do is infuse those tasks with meaning. So I am doing these things today, I'm looking for work, and that is meaningful in itself, because there's an end goal to this. It will be something that's good for me and good for the people that I love as well. Some excellent resources for looking after well-being when looking for work are the Headgear app. The Headgear app is free, it's evidence-based, it's developed by Black Dog Institute, and it is fun to use. It uses mindfulness, so a technique to really help us relax and reduce physiological arousal, which can often occur when we're feeling anxious. It's got a 30-day challenge, which is just short, bite-sized little challenges to extend your well-being and grow your well-being, and that can be really extra important when we're looking for work. There are also some really terrific resources available through the Black Dog Institute. One of them is a beautiful self-care plan that encourages you to think about your top coping tips, the things that personally work best for you, that are positive coping strategies. Another really good resource is through Beyond Blue, and they've got some excellent resources to look after mental health while looking for work, and also when people are recently out of work as well. Probably time to seek professional assistance when you notice your mood is lower and you're feeling more down than usual, when you're worrying more and perhaps worrying excessively about things that you wouldn't normally worry about, and perhaps in your relationships too, when you're more tense with people and perhaps more snappy or irritable. All of these are signs that perhaps our mood is not in the greatest space, and our well-being is not in the greatest space, and that it can be a great idea then to chat to your GP, who can then refer you to an appropriate person to help you strengthen your well-being. It's very common for people to have a dip, but please know that that's not going to last forever, and that there's lots you can do through looking after yourself, but also through getting access to professional support that can really give you a boost again and get you back feeling good as you're looking for work.